Hey everyone, let's get started with adding and subtracting polynomials. So this is section 4.5. So in this section, we're obviously going to add and subtract polynomials. And the first thing you need to know about that is like terms. And what are like terms? Well, like terms refer to monomials that have the same variables but may have different coefficients. And the variables in the terms must have the same powers. So for example, I have these examples here that I want you to take a look at. And the first set, you have 7a squared b, 4ab squared, 3ab, and negative 5ab squared. So which of these are like terms? If you look closely, 4ab squared and negative 5ab squared have the same variables because they both have a to the first power and b to the second power. So they are like terms. So I'm just going to rewrite what the like terms are. And I even provide a little challenge to add the like terms. So what I mean add, put a plus sign, negative 5ab squared. So since they are like, we can combine these two terms as one term. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. So we're going to write negative ab squared. Okay, so next we have 2x, negative 3, 5b, and 0. Well, 2x and 5b are not like terms. They are called unlike terms. But negative 3 and 0, since they are constants, they are like, okay, since they are constants. So let's write that negative 3 and 0 are like. And so if we add negative 3 plus 0, it's obviously simply negative 3. Moving on, what are the like terms in the next example? Well, the like terms are 2wx and 4xw. They're the same, even though notice that they weren't put in the same order, the x and w. You have wx and xw. But since this is multiplication, it means the same. So 2 times w times x means the same as 2 times x times w. So 2wx and 4xw are the same. Normally you would write the letters in alphabetical order, so that would lessen the confusion, right? So which letter comes first, W or X? All right. So we could write 2wx plus 4wx if we wanted to, because 4xw and 4wx are the same. So that would, if we combine that, we are just adding the coefficient, so that would be a 6, and we're rewriting the variables. Next, we have 3xyz squared, negative 2xyz squared, 1/2 ab squared c, and 1/2 a squared bc squared. Tempting, but those last two are not like, since this a is a to the 1, but this a squared is a to the second, for example. So already we know that these are not like terms. But 3xyz squared and negative 2xyz squared are like terms because they have xyz squared in common. So yes, they are like terms. Therefore, if we wanted to add them, we could. So 3xyz squared plus a negative 2xyz squared equals positive 1, since 3 minus 2 is positive 1. Now, we don't normally write the 1 as a coefficient, and we normally don't write 1 as an exponent. It's understood. So this is really the same as if I wrote 3xyz squared minus 2xyz squared. It's the same. All right, let's perform the operations below. We have number 1. What operation is it? Well, the sign in the middle would tell you exactly what operation it is. Here, they want us to add this, so let's do that. All right, so we have x squared plus 3x plus 1. I'm rewriting what's in the first parenthesis. And we also have 4x squared plus 4x squared plus 5. Now we want to combine like terms. And notice we have x squared and 4x squared. Those are like terms. So when we put those together, since this is considered to be a 1x squared, we have 5x squared. And since 3x does not have a like term, we rewrite 3x. But notice we can combine our constants, our 1 plus 5, to give us 6. So our final answer is 5x squared plus 3x plus 6. Next, let me show you how to stack variables. So this was called the horizontal format, this is called the horizontal format, which is perfectly fine. But I want to show you the vertical format as well. So you could stack like terms. So for example, if I rewrite 3x squared minus 3x plus 2, and I could stack like terms, meaning for this parenthesis, I can put the 2x squared under its like term, 3x squared. I could put the 7x under the negative 3x, and I could put the minus 4 under the 2. That way I don't have to search for the like term. I've already grouped the like terms together. And I don't have to try to find what goes with what. They're already right under each other. So that's 5x squared, negative 3 plus 7. So that would be 4x, and positive 2 minus 4, that'll be negative 2. Let's try the next problem. Notice that there's a negative in front of the parenthesis. So this negative indicates that there's an imaginary negative 1. And that negative 1 is right next to a parenthesis, which indicates that we really are multiplying here. We're multiplying this negative 1 times everything in this parenthesis. So if we do that, we get negative 3x squared. A negative 1 times a positive 3x, negative 3x. And lastly, negative 1 times a negative 2 would be positive 2. So we are done with this problem. Moving on, what operation do we have here for number 4? Well, notice again that there's a sign in the middle of these parentheses, which suggests that this is not multiplication, this is subtraction. So what we're going to do is first rewrite the first parenthesis, 3x minus 4, but we need to, if this helps, put imaginary 1 there, right? A visible 1, but there, because there's imaginary 1 there. And what you need to do is distribute. Like we did in the last example, we need to distribute that -1 times everything to the right of that -1, and that's within that parenthesis right next to that subtraction symbol. So that would be minus 5x, and then -1 times 7 minus 7. Now, you always simplify expressions. So these are examples of simplifying algebraic expressions. Meaning, if there are like terms, for example, we have to combine like terms. And we do because we have 3x minus 5x. So what is 3x minus 5x? And notice I always take the sign that is in front of the like term. So this 3x here, no sign is there, which means it's a positive 3x minus 5x. So therefore 3x minus 5x will be negative 2x. It's very important that you know your integer rules at this point, so that you won't get frustrated when your signs are wrong. All right? If you know your integer rules, you're not going to deal with that issue of why are my signs wrong, and I was so close but my signs were wrong. Okay? So negative 2x, and then we have a -4 minus 7. So again, notice that I make sure that I acknowledge the sign in front of the like terms. So -4 minus 7 is -11. So our answer is -2x minus 11. All right, let's move on to number 5. Again, what operation are we dealing with? We have a minus sign in the middle of these two parentheses, so we are subtracting these polynomials. So let's rewrite our first polynomial. There's nothing to do with the first parenthesis, so 3x squared minus 4x minus 6. But here, there is work to do first before we start combining. So that's -2x squared. -1 times -6x is positive 6x. And -1 times a positive 12 is -12. Now we decide on what are our like terms. So we have 3x squared and we have minus 2x squared. Notice there's a negative sign in front of 2x squared. So what is 3x squared minus 2x squared? That'll be simply 1x squared, but again, we don't write the 1 as a coefficient. Next, we have -4x plus 6x. -4x plus 6x is positive 2x. And notice that we have our constants left over here. We have a -6 minus 12, which is -18. So our answer is x squared plus 2x minus 18. Let's move on to number 6. We have -4rt cubed. So let's rewrite that. negative 4rt cubed plus 2r squared t squared. And again, here we go. We have to do a little work because there's a minus sign in the middle of these two parentheses. So we need to multiply negative 1 times everything to inside this parenthesis that's right next to that minus sign. So that changes to a positive 3r t cubed, and then that negative times positive 2r squared t squared becomes a negative 2r squared t squared. Now, what are like terms? Well, the negative 4r squared rt cubed can be matched with the 3rt cubed, and that is a negative 1 rt cubed, but we don't write the 1, is understood. Also, 2r squared t squared and negative 2r squared t squared are like terms, but notice that they cancel out because negative 2 minus 2 will cancel out. That's 0. All right, next, number 7. Number 7 is a little bit more involved because we are dealing with a monomial that is right next to a polynomial. So we have this 8, we have this one term. So the first thing we need to do is multiply 8 times everything in this parenthesis. So first, 8 times y squared would be 8y squared. 8 times negative 2y would be negative 16y. And 8 times 3 would be 24. Now, let's go to the negative 4. We need to multiply a negative 4 times everything to the right here. So negative 4 times 2y squared will be negative 8y squared. Negative 4 times y will be negative 4y, and negative 4 times negative 3 will be positive 12. Now, let me just say this. If you wanted to use the vertical format and stack these, you were welcome to stack this. I'm not at this moment, but you could stack like terms under each other if you wanted to. But keep in mind, don't forget you have to change your signs because of that minus sign. So we have 8y squared and we have negative 8y squared. So notice that those two will cancel out. We have negative 16y and we have minus 4y. So a negative 16y minus 4y is negative 20y. We also have a positive 24 plus 12. So 24 plus 12 is 36. It's positive, so we write a plus sign. All right. Lastly, we have a problem that uses the phrases subtract and from. So, for example, if I say subtract 25 from 100, if I say subtract 25 from 100, or if I said even take 25 cents from a dollar, if you took 25 cents from a dollar, wouldn't you say 75 cents and not negative 75, right? So if I say subtract 25 from 100, really you're writing the 100 first and you're saying minus 25. Or a dollar, take 25 cents from a dollar, you're saying $1 minus 0.25, which will give you 75 cents. Do y'all get that? You don't write the 25 first. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. If it's using the terminology subtract something from something, what will you start with? You're not going to start with the first thing you see. Okay, even though that's what most people would do, but that's not the correct way. So you'll start with 6a squared here plus 5a minus b, right? And if you're subtracting negative 4a plus b from that, you're going to put minus in the middle, negative 4a plus b. So again, don't forget there's going to be a minus sign there that you have to put in the middle of those two polynomials. Now, we have to do a little bit of work because we have this minus sign here, right? So that means we're going to rewrite this as 6a squared plus 5a minus b plus, since we have a negative times a negative, 4a minus, since we have a negative times a positive, b. Now, are there like terms involved? Well, we have 6a squared, and we do have like terms involved here. What do you see as like terms? You should see 5a and 4a. Those are like. That will give us 9a. And we also see negative b and negative b. So don't make the mistake of thinking that cancels out. That does not cancel out. It only cancels if you have opposite signs. And here you do not have opposite signs. You have the same sign. So you add and keep. So it's negative 2b. So the final answer is 6a squared plus 9a minus. And that's all for section 4.5. So continue on to the next section.